Hello and welcome to Tagalog Grammar by Example. My name is Alan. This video is about pseudo-verbs. This is part one. There's going to be a series of videos about this particular topic, pseudo-verbs. Okay, pseudo-verbs are words that are things like want, I want something, or I like something, or I don't like something, or I need to do something. I need a map or things like that, or I can. Okay, I have a list of them there on the screen, but we'll talk about each of those later on. Now, what we'll do in this video, I want to talk first of all a little bit about actor-focused verbs because we are talking about pseudo-verbs. What's the distinction? What's an actor-focused verb? And then get into pseudo-verbs and how they are different. Okay? And we're going to look at a list of pseudo-verbs and what they mean. We're going to use pseudo-verbs, and the one I'm going to concentrate on in this particular video is gusto, and cover the other ones in more detail later on. Okay, I want to really get across this idea of noun pronouns and get a feel for what they're about. Now, I have other videos that I've been putting together for this series called Tagalog Grammar by Example. In the other videos I talk about actor-focused verbs. I just want to run through this real quick, okay, just as a reminder if you haven't seen this before. Then this would be new to you, but you might want to check out the other video. Using ang pronouns and ang markers. Ang, when I see that word ang, that tells me that that is the subject of the sentence, okay, ang. I need to look for those ang words. Let's look at it real quick. Using ang pronouns. Kumakain ako. Kumakain means eating. Ako means I. Who is doing the eating? Who is the actor? I. I is the actor. Okay? I am eating. Now, keep in mind that kumakain is an actor-focused verb. Now, Tagalog has object-focused verbs too, and several other types of verbs also, but the two main ones would be actor-focused or object-focused verbs. Okay, in this case I'm focusing just on the actor-focused verbs. Kumakain ako, I am eating. Umiinom sila. Umiinom means drinking. Sila is they. They are drinking. Okay, but I know who's doing it because I can see the ang pronoun. Ako, sila, and there's other ones I'll talk about as we go along. Now in the bottom half of the screen we get into ang markers. If I'm not saying I or me, or I or we or he or she or they, I may be referring to a person by name, or I might be referring to some other common noun. Let's look at that. That's using ang markers. Nagbabasa si Jose. So who is the actor? Who is reading? Nagbabasa means reading. Who is reading? Si Jose. Now I see the word si in front of Jose's name. That tells me he is the actor. Okay, he's the one doing the reading. Si Jose. It's a marker. It's called an ang marker. Even though it doesn't specifically say ang, it says si, it is an ang marker. Now the last one there is nagluluto ang babae. Cooking. Cooking. Nagluluto. Cooking. Ang babae. Who is doing the cooking? The woman. Okay? In this case, we're actually using the word ang to refer to the noun that is the actor, okay? In this case, woman. All those other things that we looked at, ang pronouns, ako, sila, si, those are also, in my mind, like ang. It's almost like saying ang, because it is directing my mind to who is actually doing the acting, who is performing the verb, okay? Hopefully that makes some sense. Let's go on to using a nung marker, nung, ng, nung. That usually will mark the object of a sentence if you're using an actor-focused verb. So take a look at kumakain. Kumakain ako ng tinapay. Tinapay means bread. So I can see what I am eating. It's bread. Okay? The nang points to that object. The next one, iinom sila. We know that that means they are drinking, but what are they drinking? Ng gatas. Gatas is milk. So they are drinking milk. Okay? And the next one is reading. Nagbabasa. Nagbabasa si Jose. Jose is doing the reading. But what is he reading? A magazine? A newspaper? No, it's an aklat. It's a book. Ng aklat. Okay? That is a book. And the last one is nagluluto ang babae ng pagkain. Nagluluto is cooking. Ang babae, that's the actor, that's the person doing the cooking. I could tell that with the ang marker there. And then the nung marker tells me what she is cooking. She's cooking food. Okay? So that's a quick look at the actor-focused verbs using ang pronouns and ang markers, and also using the nung marker to refer to the object of the sentence. Let's take a look at our friends' pseudo-verbs. They're also known as helper verbs, and I'll get into that in another video about in this series about pseudo-verbs. Okay, but for now, I want to focus on just the idea of being a pseudo-verb. Ayaw, I don't like, or want, or I wouldn't like, or I wouldn't want that. Okay, ayaw. Gusto is for like, or would like, or want, things like that. Puede. Puede means can. Puede po bang magtanong? May I ask a question? Okay. Kailangan. Kailangan ko ng mapa. I need a map. Kailangan, need. Now, there's another one, dapat, which is means must or should, or I ought to do something. Okay. The two have a slight distinction. Kailangan is like I need a map, or I need to brush my teeth, or I need to eat something. Okay, that is something that's internal to me. No one's telling me I have to do that. I just want to. Okay, or I need to. Dapat. That would be more like a lot of times you're going to have it where there's an external imposition. Somebody is telling me, my mother's telling me I have to go to school or I have to get a job or something. I must get a job because mom said. All right? That type of thing. So we'll talk about each of these in detail later on, but for now, I'm going to be mostly focusing on gusto, want or like, and explain how that would be used as a pseudo verb. They're all used pretty much the same way. And then in later videos, I'll talk about each of these in specifically, okay, and show you examples of how to use them. So pseudo verbs are different. They're not actor-focused verbs, that's for sure, and they're not object-focused verbs. They're pseudo verbs. They one thing that's different about them is they do not have aspect. Now, the word aspect is means, well, for English-speaking people, we would say past tense, present tense, future tense. Okay. But linguists, when they're talking about the Tagalog language, they use something known as aspect. All right, it means completed or incompleted or contemplated. Very, very similar to past tense, present tense, and future tense. In fact, that's the way I tend to think of it. Okay, just wanted to mention though that they'll say pseudo verbs do not have aspect. An example is gusto, which means want or like. I can't say wanted, I wanted that, or I will want that. Okay, we don't have. It's always gusto. You don't change the word to inflect it for aspect. It doesn't change. Okay, now let's look at pronouns. We talked about these pronouns earlier when I was talking about the actor-focused verbs. Okay, we saw ako and we saw sila. Those are ang pronouns. When I see those ang pronouns, I know that that's the actor in the sentence. Ako, kami, and tayo. The difference there is kami includes the or does not include the person you're speaking to, but tayo does. Okay, and you can see the other ones there on the screen as well. Look in the column on the right. Those are nung pronouns. Nung pronouns. Now, we have words like ko and namin and natin, mo, ninyo, nya, nila. Okay? And you can see what they sort of mean. I want to mention that nung pronouns can be used a couple of different ways. One of the ways is as a possessive word. Okay? Like my, for example. I'll take the first one. Ko. I can think of that as my. Like bahay is the word for house. Bahay ko. My house. Bahay ko. Namin. You could think of that as, since it's related to we, it's our. Like our house. Okay? Bahay namin. Bahay namin. How about natin? The difference is natin has includes the person that you're speaking to. So if I was speaking to my spouse, I could say our house. Okay, bahay natin. And mo, it was your house. Nya is his house or her house, and nila is their, like their house. Okay, bahay nila. So that's one way to use nung pronouns, is as a possessor. The other way to use it is as an experiencer. Okay, I want something. I am the experiencer. Now we don't say I want specifically. We don't use the word I, like ako. When we say I want, we say gusto ko. Very common mistake that I see with people beginning with Tagalog is they'll use a ang pronoun like I or we in using with a pseudo verb. Let's get into that. Keep in mind, the ang pronoun usually refers to the actor of the sentence. Okay, the ang pronoun. The nung pronoun are often used to show possession, like I just went over. My house, your house, their house. Okay? But nung pronouns can also refer to the experiencer, the one that's doing the disliking, or the one that's doing the wanting or liking. Okay? So, let's look at how some people try to use gusto, and this is incorrect. First of all, they'll know that in English they want to say I want. And they learn that gusto means want or like. So they try to put it together as gusto ako. And I can see that. You know, they'd want to do that. Gusto, want, ako, I. Gusto ka, you want. Okay? These are totally incorrect. Those are wrong. Okay? Mali, wrong. Those are wrong. What we want to do is more like what you're seeing on your screen now. Gusto ko, I want. We're not using the word ako, which is an ang pronoun. We're using a nung pronoun. Nung. Now, I don't like to think of it as so much as a possessive ko, you know. I don't like to think of it as my. I prefer to think of it as something like by me or of me. Want by me. Okay? How about gusto mo? You want. Singular. Talking to one person. You want. Want by you. Gusto mo. Gusto namin. We want, or want by us. We're not using the actual word for I or you or we. Instead, we're using my or your or our. Okay? But again, I don't like to think of them that way as a possessive thing. It's more of an experiencer. All right? When we're using it with a pseudo verb, it's more of an experiencer. So I like to substitute as by me, by you, by us, by them. Nila. Okay? Hopefully that makes some sense. Now, let's look at some examples of using nung pronouns. This is interesting for me. I remember the first time I looked at these pseudo verbs, I didn't quite get it because it was a little strange to me. I knew that ko was a nung pronoun, okay? But seeing the word nung in there for the tinapay, in this case, gusto ko ng tinapay, that threw me off because I'm looking for the ang marker. Who is the actor? I always look for the actor and the object. Okay, well, who's the actor here? There is no actor. There's an experiencer. Okay, gusto ko. I want or I like ng tinapay, bread. That's what I like, bread, ng tinapay. Gusto mo. Gusto mo, mo is the experiencer, not the possessor, but it's being used as an experiencer. You are the one experiencing like for tinapay, for bread. Okay? Hopefully that makes some sense. You can see the other ones in there too. Gusto ninyo ng tinapay. You like bread. Okay, that's plural you, by the way. Gusto namin. We like bread. Gusto namin. We like bread. We're the experiencer. Gusto natin. That is the inclusive version of we. And then there's gusto nila ng tinapay. They like bread. Okay? So we're using nung pronouns here with our pseudo verb as an experiencer. That's very important. That's how it's used. Do not use the ang pronouns. Do not use ako, kami, tayo. Don't use those. Use the nung pronouns. Okay, well, I have a question. What if you want to use the name of a person or something else as the one who is the experiencer? Okay, not things like I, by me or by you or whatever. What if I want to say Tom likes bread? How do I say that? Tom likes bread. Do I use si Tom? How about the child likes chocolate? How do we say that? Well, let's take a look at it. To get into this, we need to understand that just like we have an ang marker for a person's name, it's called si. Si, okay? Si Jose, remember that? We can also use a nung pronoun for that, or nung marker. That is ni, N-I, ni, as the nung marker. Okay, so we use si as an ang marker for the name of a person or an animal, and we use ni as the nung marker. Okay, well, that's interesting. Let's take a look at it. By the way, I like to remember ni as, it's easy to remember because it's like niya and nila. Okay, they both start with ni, and so does the nung marker for a person's name. Okay, let's look at it. Pseudo verbs with a person's name or other noun as the experiencer. Gusto ni Maria. Gusto ni Jose. Okay, we're using ni as the marker for their name, not si. Si Maria, si Jose. We're using ni. Big distinction there. Okay, they are the experiencer. Because we don't really have an actor here, so we're not using the actor pronoun, the ang pronoun. Instead, we're using the experiencer. Okay, the nung pronoun. Ni, or the nung marker. Ni Maria, ni Jose. Down further, we have the nung marker for a common noun, such as lalaki, which means man. Gusto ng lalaki. The man wants. Or gusto ng pusa. The cat wants. Okay? Nung marker. Just like we had at the end of when we were talking about ang markers, we had the word ang, literally the word ang babae, nagluluto ang babae. Here we have the nung marker, literally saying nung. Okay? So, pseudo-verb with the nung marker marking the experiencer and the object. In this case, we're going to put the object in there. Gusto ni Maria. Maria wants or likes. What does she want or like? Tinapay. So we have two nung markers in there actually. Okay, very unique in a sentence, I think. Gusto ni Maria ng tinapay. Gusto ni Jose ng tinapay. Okay, Maria likes bread. Jose likes bread or wants bread. At the bottom there we have gusto ng lalaki ng tinapay. The man likes bread. Or the last one, the dog likes bread. Okay, or wants bread. Gusto is like or want. Fluffy. Oh, Fluffy wants some water. Gusto ni Fluffy ng tubig. Tubig is water. Want of Fluffy, or the ni is a marker for a nung marker for Fluffy. That's the experiencer. Ni Fluffy. Ng tubig. Isn't that a cute kitty? Gusto ng pusa ng tubig. In this case, we're using ng pusa because it's the noun cat. Okay, ni Fluffy. Fluffy is the name of the cat, so we use ni, just like ni Jose or ni Maria. Okay. The child likes chocolate. Gusto ng bata ng chocolate. Gusto ng bata ng chocolate. Likes by who? Who's the experiencer? Bata. That means child. Ng chocolate. Chocolate. Let's look at marking the object specifically. Now, what if somebody cooks some bread? Okay, or I can say like I like bread. That's very general. I like bread. Okay, but what if somebody baked some bread and gave me that bread, and they said, "Here, try this," and I want to say, not that I like bread, but I want to say I like the bread, that actual bread. Well, take a look at these examples. Gusto ni Maria ang tinapay. Ang tinapay, the bread. Okay? Maria likes the bread specifically. So we use ang in this case. Gusto ni Jose ang tinapay. Jose likes the bread. Okay? Or the man likes the bread. Or the dog likes the bread specifically. Or somebody say, hey, how do you like that apple? I like the apple. Okay? Instead of just I like apples. All right, let's go on. The child likes the chocolate. There she is drinking the chocolate milk. The child likes the chocolate. Gusto ng bata ang chocolate. Okay? So what did we look at here in pseudo verbs? We looked at gusto, ayaw, kailangan, dapat, and puede. Those are examples of pseudo verbs. We know that pseudo verbs do not inflect for aspect, which we would normally call tense in English. Okay, past tense, present tense, future tense. We also learned that the experiencer may be marked by nung pronouns like ko, mo, niño, nila. We don't use the ang pronouns for an experiencer. We use the nung pronouns. Very important. We can also mark the experiencer by a nung marker, such as ni for somebody's name, and nung for a common noun like lalaki, nung lalaki. Okay, gusto ng lalaki, the man likes or the man wants. And we also learned that the object is also marked by a nung marker. All right. So gusto ng bata ng chocolate. The child likes chocolate. Very general. And we can also mark something specifically as an object of their desire by using the ang marker, right? Okay. So what's coming up in this series? We're going to take a look at what if the object is a person. Okay. What if you want to say something like the man likes them, okay, or Tom likes her, or Dave likes Martha? How do you say something like that using pseudo verbs? Gusto. Okay, we'll talk about that. And another one is, what about kita? Like mahal kita. That means I love you. You could say I like you. Okay, gusto kita. What does that kita mean? We're going to look at that. Also, pseudo verbs as helping verbs. Okay, they're a little bit different than what we've been looking at right here, but they're still pseudo verbs, but they help other verbs. We'll see what that means. And then finally, we're going to use the other pseudo verbs and get a feel for how you actually do use them, besides just gusto, which we concentrated in this particular video on. Okay? So, I do want to mention some of my websites that are out there, tagalogphrases.com. Perhaps you've been there before. There's a translator there. There's over 5,000 sentences you can browse through and so forth. Pretty neat. Learn-tagalog.com goes along with my videos that I have on YouTube for training on Tagalog. And then there's also another site called mugtagalog.com. I don't keep it up that much, but I'm thinking about getting into it more, where I talk about some of the resources that I find out there on the internet. I may be switching that over and using it in a different way, but that's out there as well. And there's another one, learntagalogvideos.com. That's basically a collection of some videos that I found useful that are on YouTube, and I just kind of put them together on one website and linking to them. Okay, you could do the same thing on your own channel if you have one. You could make playlists and so forth and do that. But I put that on learntagalogvideos.com. Okay, so I do want to thank you for listening, and if you find this useful, you might want to be posted, get posted or message when I put more videos on here. You can just subscribe to this channel. If you enjoyed this, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit like on this below the video here. And thanks again for listening. Take care.